name, Sir Michael Balcon, first knight of the cinema. Occupation, producer. Age, 65. More than 40 years in the studios with 304 of his own productions. Some titles to remember: Evergreen, 39 Steps, A Yank at Oxford, Lavender Hill Mob, The Cruel Sea. For collectors of incidental intelligence, 500 miles of personal cinema celluloid impressed with his personality and his standards. His importance? He tries to entertain without pandering to sex, sadism, or sin. His achievement? An enormous number of successes. And now, what do those who know him best say about Michael Balcon? His friends outside the studios and his stars inside. Let them tell you of Balcon, the man and the producer.
A man of startling contrasts, a rich man and a strong socialist. Great precision of mind, but his walls hung with pictures which are, to me at least, incomprehensible. A very serious man, whose fame rests on enchantingly light-hearted comedies.
Whenever I have met Michael Balcon in committees and at functions, I've always been struck by his wise and kindly judgment of people and his lively, creative mind in dealing with any new problems that arise. He has energy and drive, and he gets things done. He also has the advantage of a wonderful wife and daughter with something of the same qualities. Added to this, he's a darling and a very good friend.
Sir Michael Balcon was the first man to produce me on the widescreen and in colour, something for which the cinema-going public has never quite forgiven him. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer fellow.
He gave me my first break many years ago at the old Gainsborough Studios at Shepherd's Bush. I was a young, completely unknown actor, and he took a chance with me. And he's been taking chances ever since. And he's helped more people to get their foot on the first rung of the ladder than any producer I know.
I made 6 films for Sir Michael Balcon, which gave me a great opportunity to find out about the man, to understand him. And I found that his knowledge of what the public wanted and how to handle artists was greater than any other man that I'd ever met. When he became Sir Michael, it rather worried me because I was used to calling him Mick.
Mickey Balcon, I think, owes his greatness in the British film industry to the fact that he has always been a wonderful family man. His wife Aileen and his 2 children have been his true strength and background always. This love and belief in family created the unusual pattern and working conditions in his studios at Ealing and gave strength and a special quality to all his productions.
There was a time at Ealing, the studios he controlled for 17 years, when Balcon kept bees in hives on the lawn behind his office. It is typical and somehow symbolic of the man that in the midst of all the city tension of running a big film factory, there should be this one touch of the country. But then Mick Balcon is a man of the country. His home, although he sees it only at weekends, is in Sussex, in a house rebuilt in Elizabethan times, whose foundations go back to the Doomsday Book. He raises pigs and cattle and sheep there, and grows willows which make cricket bats. Perhaps one of mine will play for England, he says hopefully. In London, he runs his film world with what he likes to call practical realism. His producers and directors are chaps. At Ealing, the studio with the team spirit, said the slogan on the walls. They met every day for lunch round a large table so big it had to be built inside the room because it could not be got through the door. Balcon ran the studios with a democratic paternalism. In the middle of a script conference once, he asked his colleagues, "I want to wash my hands, or do I?" It was almost put to the vote. When he was knighted, he said, "It's not me, it's the studio as a whole." He's been married 37 years. His weekends in the country with Aileen he spends reading, scripts especially, walking around the farm, thinking of the next story, the next big development in the cinema he loves so much.
Well, Sir Michael, after that, to tell you the honest truth, I'm a little diffident in approaching you because you almost sound like a work of fiction.
Well, I must say they sound rather splendid. It's like reading your own obituary notices. You do. I think my creditors will be glad to hear that I'm rich anyhow.
We might start almost anywhere, but the Ealing comedies, the Ealing films, mark not only a peak in your own career, but something of a watershed, to use that word they seem to overwork in history examinations, something of a watershed in the history of British cinema in general. After the Ealing films, life was a little more real in British films than it had been before. I wonder if you'd like to talk about that.
I think that is fair comment. Ealing was in existence before I came there. It was founded by an old friend of mine, Reg Baker, who invited me to go there in 1938. And we had a wonderful working partnership for 20 years. He gave me the opportunity of looking after the studios and the creative side without any bother of administration, finance, or anything like that. And I was able to gather around me the most lively group of young technicians, like-minded people. And it sprang, the whole Ealing idea sprang from that, a whole group of people thinking on the same lines with an interest in cinema as such, all working together with a common objective.
We always think of Ealing as the source of comedies, but of course that wasn't the only sort of film you made. For instance, you made a film called Mandy, which had to do with a deaf and dumb child, and the sort of family difficulties the upbringing of such a child might carry with it.
What do you think you're doing? What do you mean running under my wheels like that? You want to get yourself killed, understand? Dear me! Can't you keep that dog on a lead? You nearly killed a lot of us. Keep that mongrel on a lead, kids, understand, eh?
What happened? No, darling, you mustn't do that. Did she bite you or something? Out there? All right, darling, all right. I won't go. Mummy's got you. There.
What is it, darling? Oh, never mind. Better now. I'll take her up, Mrs. Garland. Now come to Tucky, sweetheart. There's the girl. Oh.
What happened? Did the dog bite her or something?
I don't know. Something frightened her. She couldn't tell me what. Harry, I can't go on like this. It was all right when she was a baby, but now, you never know. I don't know whether she's just being naughty and playing me up or whether there's something really the matter. There's just no contact. There must be something we can do.
Ealing was a very British idea, Sir Michael, was it not? The films that came out characteristic of Ealing were extremely British. But I wonder if you're a nationalist in your work.
Well, nationalist, it's not a word I like. Oddly enough, the only form of nationalism that I do believe in is cultural nationalism. I think they were indigenous films, certainly. Nothing chauvinistic. But definitely, I believe the films must spring, you know, from the soil in which...
But I wonder what first made you think of, or indeed, was it you yourself who thought of making specifically very British films, nationalistic films almost?
Well, you see, I talked about this group of people before, and just as groups of writers get together or groups of painters get together, I think all of us thought that if film was to express itself in its own art form, that you have to be British in outlook because you've got to understand the minds and the characters of the people that you're dealing with. It doesn't only apply to filmmaking, I think it applies to writing, to painting, to all the arts. And we followed that basic principle.
One of the dangers, I think, of that sort of ambience, that sort of nationalistic ambience, is that sometimes one might run very close to coziness, to almost to whimsicality. I wonder if you were ever aware of that danger while you were making it.
Indeed, we were aware of it. I think at times the criticism, what your very criticisms were levelled against us. You know, there was almost a danger of inbreeding, you know, because we didn't import people from outside. We obviously kept ourselves in touch with everything that was going on in films all over the world. Yes, there was a danger that we had to guard against, and it may well have emerged very clearly had we gone on longer.
Yes, yes. In re-seeing any of the films you made at that time, are you at all aware of this sort of thing creeping in?
I wouldn't say so. You know, it's very difficult for me to talk about work with which I'm associated with. But I do think they were a particularly happy, good, worthwhile group of films. You know,
I think so, too.
I think so. I think it would be silly not to say so.
Of course, you made a lot of comedies earlier than the Ealing one, some before the war with Tom Walls and Will Hay, and there's something, I might almost say, of a cult of these comedies. One sees them put on in seasons at art houses, a sort of nostalgia for them. And I wonder whether you think this nostalgia is in fact justified by the quality of those earlier comedies.
Well, I couldn't say they were quality in terms of filmmaking, because some of them were not very good films. If you look at them today, some of them were basically merely photographed stage plays. Some of them, though, were quite good films. But I think what was they really were, these people like Walls, Lynn, Will Hay, Jack Hulbert, Cicely Courtnidge, were great comedy personalities. Frankly, except with one or two rare exceptions, I don't think we have their equal today. And the films were worthwhile from that point of view. If you watch Will Hay's timing at this day, it's absolutely perfect. It really is. They were great entertainers.
I think you'll be remembered for many a film, but perhaps for none so well as Kind Hearts and Coronets, in which Alec Guinness played, I think it was 7 parts. I'm not going to remind you of the plot because I dare say you remember it well enough, but some people who are watching now may have seen it some time ago. It all hinged on Dennis Price, who wished to succeed to the earldom and had to liquidate all those who stood higher up the list in the course of succession. Story seems to have been a great concern of yours in the Ealing films. Not so much perhaps the stars. It's almost as if Guinness became a star in your films by accident. Is this a true thing to say?
Well, in part, you know, I had watched his work for a long time. I'd watched his work at the Old Vic, and of course he gave those very first-class performances in Oliver Twist and Great Expectations. And I did bring pressure to bear on the Rank organization to make a long-term contract with him, and persuaded them to let him play most of his pictures with Ealing. And it is true that he fitted in, and it was cast beautifully in certain comedy ideas that we had in mind. And I do think it was as a result of several successes in a row that he became a star that he is today. Yeah. I really think that. I do think that
is it the degree of control a producer exercises that's appealed to you?
I think so, you know. I didn't become a producer necessarily by design. You see, I started so long ago that with my then partner we had to make up our minds as to our duties. He became the director, I became the producer. As in those days, in the early 20s, the industry was growing, the studios were being set up, they were looking for personnel, and I became a producer because I suppose that there was not very much competition in those days.
You've never had a stab at directing?
No, I think I rather like the arrangement of programs. You have the excitement of the film that you're preparing, there's the excitement of the film on the floor. And, of course, you then have also the responsibility of finishing a film. As you know, my view is the producer is responsible for the whole blueprint. That is the story, the creative personnel, the casting, and, of course, the completion of the film.
But you've never really been tempted to set, as it were, your individual aesthetic mark on the thing by directing one?
No, I think not. I can't explain it, but not. I've been so entirely happy in the function that I had to perform that I never wanted to direct.
And yet, of course, you brought on many directors of note, people like Sandy McKendrick, and, of course, Alfred Hitchcock. And I think we might have a squint now at a piece from one of his films, in fact, the best known of his films, The 39 Steps, with Robert Donnet and Madeleine Carroll.
Excuse me, I take your place, please.
What are you doing? Listen, I found him. He's up in that box.
But you can't do anything about it. I've been to Scotland Yard. Nothing whatever has been stolen from the Air Ministry. They're absolutely certain about it.
But you heard those men say it got him. There he is.
Shall we take him now, sir, or wait till the interval?
But what you going to do? There's nothing missing. There's an end to it.
Hear that tune? It's that damn thing I couldn't get out of my head. Now I know where I heard it before. Of course, that music hall. Annabella's...
Ladies and gentlemen, with your kind attention and permission, I have now the honor to present to you one of the most remarkable men in the world.
It's the same little man.
Every day he commits to memory 50 new facts and remembers every one of them. Facts from history, from geography, from newspapers, from scientific textbooks. Millions and millions of them, down to the smallest detail. Test him, ladies and gentlemen. Ask him any question.
I've got it. Of course there are no papers missing. All the information's inside Memory's head.
Mr. Memory.
But I still don't understand.
Don't you see? The details of that Air Minister secret were borrowed, memorized by this little man, and then replaced before anyone could find out. That's why he is here tonight, to take Memory out of the country after the show.
But surely some gentleman here would like to speak to you.
Question, please. Question, please.
Where's the boat race?
When the Florence Nightingale died.
What is the height of the Empire State?
You Richard Hannay?
Listen, there's something you ought to know.
Keep Hannay, come along quietly.
Yes, but look here, that man on the stage...
Now,
don't-
look here, old man, you don't want to cause any trouble and spoil people's entertainment.
General Gordon's death.
Where's the capital of...
What are the 39 steps? Come on, answer up! What are the 39 steps?
The 39 Steps is an organization of spies, collecting information on behalf of the Foreign Office of...
I think, Sir Michael, one of the most important jobs in making a film must be that of the editor, the man who cuts up the film and puts it in a certain order so that the climaxes and anticlimaxes will have point. Is this a job you've ever done yourself?
I haven't actually handled the film myself, except in very odd, rare occasion. But in point of fact, I do take a great interest in the editing. And one of my jobs on the completion of a film is to sit in with the editors and see the film repeatedly. And the working editors do carry out my wishes and instructions, but not actually editing the film myself. It is a terrifically important function. I think that good editing puts the heartbeat, the real heartbeat, into any picture.
Do you think that a talented editor is the sort of man who later becomes a director or a producer?
Well, if I follow my own experience, the answer is yes. I don't want on a program like this to generalize too much, because you have, you know, Frank Launder and Sidney Gilliat, who become directors from writers.
Yes.
And there is a good case for the writer-director. You have Jack Cardiff, who was a cameraman. But oddly enough, all my directors, all the people I started as directors, had all been good editors.
I should perhaps have asked you this much earlier. How, in fact, did you start? How did you become a producer?
Well, I started after the First World War, looking round with many other people for something to do, and I became a film salesman in the Midlands with Victor Saville. Well, we weren't very successful film salesmen, so we thought we'd try our hands at film production. So we came to London and started making advertising films. And one day, a director called Jack Cutts walked into our office and said, why not make a feature film? You know, Fool's Venture, etc. We started making a feature film, and that's exactly how it did happen. You know, we had to beg, borrow, and steal the money from all our friends, and it grew from that very thing.
Well, let's have a look at one of the earlier films you made, Rome Express. with Conrad Veidt, the German actor. The story is that Veidt is on the train and he's searching for a stolen picture.
Well, I think you ought to thank us for a very profitable evening.
Yes. Thanks.
Never mind. One of these nights we'll have our revenge. What do you say, Mr. Zerta?
Yes. We will have our revenge. Good night, Mr. Poole. Good night. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Poole.
Oh, good night, you fellas.
Good night, gentlemen. Have a night in the morning.
Oh, see that no one disturbs me before 8 o'clock, will you?
8 o'clock, Bishop.
Good night.
That's all right.
Good night.
Oh, good night, Mr. Zerta.
Good night, Mr.
Bishop.
Bishop.
Yes, Bishop be named, but not be nature.
Grant! You can't do anything while Grant's in there.
Don't worry. I will persuade him to come out to talk to you, while I talk to Mr. Poole. Is he dead?
No.
No? In any case, that's his affair. We are going to have a little talk, Mr. Poole.
Zerta, you...
And then you are going for a long holiday.
Well, you can take the Van Dyke. I don't want it. You can take my share and the Van... Here. Oh, there must be some mistake. This isn't my case.
Well?
I'll find it for you. I swear I will. It must be somewhere on the train. Here, take my winnings. Take the lot.
That is all?
Yes.
Okay. You need a holiday badly, my friend.
I wonder what you think of that film now, Sir Michael.
Well, it's an interesting collector's piece. In point of fact, in its day, I think it was quite a good film. It was directed by one of the best of directors of that day, Walter Ford. I must say, it has dated. Its technique is quite different in direction from today. You've probably noticed the pauses without significance.
Yes, yes.
And the whole style, treatment of direction of performance has changed.
You've made 300 films since you started in your career. I wonder if at any point, while you've been a producer, you ever thought of quitting and doing something else?
Oh, dear, no. Oh, indeed not. Indeed not. I mean, I love the job, and I just don't ever want to think of doing anything else at all.
I'll tell you a thing that sometimes puzzles me when I'm seeing films in general. About halfway through, or perhaps earlier, it seems to me that it's a poor film. And it seems amazing to me that when the producer was making it, he didn't realize halfway through the job that it was indeed going to be a stinker and jagged the whole thing in. Now, why don't people do that?
Ah, well, you know, in point of fact, if we were completely honest with ourselves, we do realize when we've made a bad film. But what we have that tremendous capacity for self-deceit. Of course, we always hope that some miracle will happen and we'll pull it out. But there is a point when you do know, and of course you simply cannot turn back, because you are committed entirely up to the hilt. Nobody could possibly afford to turn back.
Do you think that the structure of the film industry as it is today is such that a man having an idea for a film, finds once the film is made that the idea comes out the other end exactly as he meant it to be?
Well, that's perfectly pleasant up to now, you know. Now and I must be very careful not to oversimplify my reply. Now, of course, you can have disappointments creatively, but I think that you're rather suggesting something else when you talk about the structure of the industry. I do feel, and I emphasize that I'm expressing a personal point of view, and many, many people would disagree with me. I do think the structure of our industry, its industrialization, its rationalization, tends towards the conventional and the safe.
Is that because the finance men get in between the creative men and the end product?
Well, not as such. I mean, that would suggest that they're bad people. They're not. You see, their job is to sell something to the public. I think nobody realizes the vision between us. They've got to sell something to the public. I don't think they can possibly be interested in film as such to the same degree as we're interested. After all, what does it matter to them whether they sell popcorn, ice cream, bowling alleys, bingo? They're selling a commodity to the public. Their ideas cannot be the same as the idea, can't have the same point of view of those people who are dedicated towards cinema as such.
And they stand, as it were, like a brick wall, really.
Well,
between you and what you want to achieve.
Well, only in the sense that they don't give you definite instructions. But one must realize, of course, that your market is narrowed down to two big groups. Now, if they are looking for something, the conventional, the safe, what they believe to be the box office, there is a tendency for people to go for those things which have been successful in the past. So it's rather a break on the experimental and the exciting. You know, I think that is the problem. And when vast monies are involved, naturally, without subconsciously, you are trying to meet your own point of view, yet at the same time give them something which they feel can be sold easily to the public. Well, that sort of compromise can't be right. I don't think it can be right.
I wonder if we could have a look now at a near documentary that you made, Dunkirk. It wasn't absolutely a documentary. It might almost be described as a fictionalized documentary. I think if we have a look at an extract from that.
Just like home. I said that once a long way back. Didn't do us much good.
You ain't gonna do no good here either.
Eh?
And it won't be much like home on them beaches.
Why?
Why? Where have you been these last few days? Jerry don't like it here much. But the Luftwaffe do.
Interesting.
I've seen thousands go past here, but I've never heard of any getting through, though.
Ah, stop it. What have you got to gripe about anyway?
Well, the bloody rear guard, that's what I've got to gripe about. It's all right for you if you get there, and if you find a blasted boat when you do get there.
Les avions! Cachez-vous vite! Alors, les
Haven't got any left.
Didn't open up on us.
Better targets on the beach, that's why. Allez, allez, en va!
I did think, in fact, I'm sure you had no American actors in that film. It reminds me of the package deal, which is something one encounters, I think, more in America than one does here, whereby a producer might want a certain film star for his film, goes to an agent, the agent of this film star, asks for the services of the film star, and the agent says, well, yes, you can have him, so long as you take a director who's also on my books. Now, what do you think of this, this innovation?
Well, I must confess I am a little unhappy about modern agency practice. This doesn't apply to all agents, of course. There are exceptions. But you will find, just as the industry itself is getting itself into groups, oddly enough, agencies are getting themselves into groups, and you do find that a great deal of the creative talent is in the hands of a very few agents.
It's a sort of cultural monopoly, in a sense.
Well, it is tending that way. It would be useless to deny it. And I do feel that in some respects, the prerogative of the producer is passing to the agent. And quite frankly, I think that's a bad thing. You know, I think we can do our job better than an agent can do it for us. And it is apt to limit your field of choice. And they do impose some pretty difficult conditions on us, not only financial conditions, which we've got to face in any case, you know, but I think they interfere with things that they shouldn't interfere with. They impose conditions about billing, which are sometimes quite ridiculous, you know, because I don't think a man becomes a star just by having his name in big block letters, and all those sort of things that I find uncomfortable. You know, I think other people must too, I think.
Earlier in your career, you made as many as 7 films in the course of a year, having direct contact with the making of these 7 films. And now you are somewhat at a distance, through your independent financing company like Bryanston, who you've sponsored, as it were, such films as Saturday Night and Sunday Morning, serious films and that sort, good films. Do you feel, though, that sitting at this distance, you still manage to put your mark on the thing you sponsor?
Well, I must give you rather a lengthy reply to that. After all, my age is now known. I'm 65 years of age, you know, and man's life is 70 years and 10, and I think by that very fact alone, it's my duty now to give every opportunity I can to younger people. I think that is absolutely essential. And I cannot, although I hope to play some direct part in a fewer number of films, I think it follows automatically that from now onwards I shall be, you know, at a slight distance, helping and encouraging, financially helping with what experience I've got, younger people. I believe in that utterly. You know, I think it must come up. The blood transfusion must go on the whole time. And that is what I have in mind doing, and in point of fact, I'm doing at this very moment.
I wonder if you've got any idea how the process of, as it were, re-educating the distributors could begin, to re-educate them to regard the actual negative, and here I'm paraphrasing something we've talked about privately, to regard the actual negative of the film as the collateral for the money they put up, rather than the brick and mortar of the actual cinema in which these things are shown.
Well, yes, it is a slow process. I do think it's happening. After all, they must pay attention to these new and exciting films that have come along in the last few years. I think the whole pattern of the industry is going to change in future years. I think there'll be fewer films. I think inevitably encouragement will be given sooner or later, extra encouragement to the new and exciting films, because if you only are one of the mass media, you are vulnerable. Any new thing that comes along will knock you sideways. For instance, you know, the trouble was caused in our industry by the advent of television. But now we've got to restore in cinema the sense of occasion.
Oh, yes, yes.
People have got to make people want to go and see something exciting and something new. I think everything will change. I think the pattern of exhibition will change. The pattern of distribution will change. I think there will be smaller cinemas in carefully sited places with long runs. Inevitably, that will bring a change in the making of films. And the sooner that happens, from everybody's point of view, the better I think it will be.
And of course, the people don't just waltz into cinemas now as they used to. I mean, there are so many more recreational